YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back with another episode of NFL Overreaction Monday here just after Sunday's action of Week 10. We're still got a Monday Night Football game and Bears-Vikings. We'll be covering that live on Twitter like we do at every game, so follow that Twitter. We have an Instagram, podcast, Patreon as well. This is a good episode. I'm excited for this one. It's a good one. If you're new, please subscribe, and to get involved with videos like this, again, our Twitter. But if you are new, full NFL coverage here, even in the offseason, not just for every game all year long, even in the offseason, draft, free agency, we got you. That Patreon that I mentioned, link down below, has junior score predictions every week, my bets of the week for NFL, college football, playoff predictions updated every single week, bonus content, Discord access, a lot more. A lot of you showing your support on there. Really appreciate you. Overreaction Monday. Let's do it. It's a good one. First one, J Mill the Wizard. That's Danny Provolone here on the channel. He had a parlay bet, a pretty good one brewing. Was getting every game right. Then he just needed the Bills to close out the game. What did he do? He placed $50 to win. The payout was $798.03. Just needed the Bills to not give up a Hail Mary. Not asking too much. They gave up the Hail Mary. DeAndre Hopkins spoils it. So Justin Miller at Arizona Cardinals owe me $800 for a Hail Mary. I don't think he's overreacting at all. I think this is a fact. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, do the Cardinals owe him $800 or the Bills owe him $800? I'm starting to think the Bills owe him $800. Giving that up, I mean, they got their... It's tough. They got their three prime stud defensive backs in position to stop DeAndre Hopkins from making a spectacular catch, and they couldn't do it. I don't know who owes the man $800, but somebody, to be specific, somebody owes the guy $798.03. I don't know who it is. Somebody's going to have to pay up. Next one. You guys can let us know in the comments who owes them, Bills or Cardinals. Let's see. Patrick Tibbetts, the Giants are a playoff team and can make some noise in the playoffs. It's a pretty interesting one, actually. It's kind of a two-parter. The Giants are, it's saying they're a playoff team and saying they're going to make the playoffs, I guess, is two different things. So I think we can make this into one, and we're going to call it an overreaction. I will say this, though. That's really not a prediction on my part. I will say this. The Giants winning that game can help them get in the playoff, for sure. I mean, they got a tough schedule ahead. The Eagles might have a tougher one, pretty even. So they're not in the driver's seat, but they're right there to kind of get in, and they can make it. So I'm not saying they're not going to make it. Calling them a playoff team, I think, is a little different. Can they make some noise? I think it's an overreaction. It's definitely an overreaction to say that right now, but I'm not saying they can't make noise. You look at what the Giants have done. They've put themselves in position to win games, to outplay teams, but they didn't get those wins. Not all the time. They got some of them. Look at the Buccaneers game, the last Eagles game. The Buccaneers got to be that's a playoff team at least. So if the Giants make the playoffs, they might be able to they could win if they just control the game like they have been and not turn the ball over. I don't see them going on a playoff run. I mean, I really don't see them winning a playoff game. They can do it. I definitely don't see them going on a playoff run because it's about being consistent, playing your best back-to-back against the best teams. I just don't trust Daniel Jones. He's had his good moments this year. I just don't trust them in the Giants to take care of the ball there. So I will say it's an overreaction, but you can't say it's... You can't disagree with somebody that's really... you can, but you can predict this. You can definitely predict this, and it's possible. It's somehow possible. Amon Khan, Russell Wilson is overrated. Yeah, so Russell Wilson taking some heat after some pretty bad throws, not just in this game against the Rams, but recently. It's an overreaction, but it's interesting. You could say that maybe he was overhyped after the first few weeks. You could say that. So, he doesn't necessarily believe this either. He's just saying what other people could be saying. That's usually what this video is about. Other people kind of saying what other people might be thinking here. But it's an overreaction. But you could say he was kind of overhyped after the first few weeks. But he's still a damn good player, obviously. A couple more Seahawks ones here from Jupiter 18. Russell Wilson is no longer an MVP candidate. I think it's an overreaction too, because he's definitely a candidate. I think he's pretty much killed his top spot. He had that top spot, and it was slowly going away. Now he's still a candidate, but he's not in that top spot. He's really not even. I don't want to say he's not close, because if you're to rank guys, he's still probably not that far from one. But the gap between him and Mahomes and maybe some other guys too is pretty, but mainly Mahomes. I think it's getting pretty big. It's getting pretty wide there. So. But a candidate, yeah, I think it'd be an overreaction to say he's no longer a candidate at all. There's some key games coming up. Cardinals, they'll play the Rams again. He can definitely turn things around with his MVP race, with those games for sure. Seahawks Galaxy, big overreaction, he says. Chris Carson is the heart and soul of the Seahawks offense. Past 4 games without him, we've gone 1-3 and struggling on offense. It's a really good one. If you guys remembered, if you don't skim through the videos, if you remember, I talked about it all week, that Chris Carson was the most important player of the game plan for the Seahawks going into the Rams. He was the most important player. He did not play. So that kind of shows. This is kind of an interesting one. I mean, calling him the heart and soul, calling him the heart and soul is kind of an overreaction if you want to talk about that, but he's a bigger piece than people realize. He's a better running back than people. He's very underrated. He is a huge part of this offense. Heart and soul, to me, is still Russell Wilson. The heart and soul, that only could be one player. There's some teams that probably don't have a heart and soul of their team, because you can't. I don't know if you can be forced to pick one, something like that. But to say, I think his point is Chris Carson is very important, and they are much, much better with him. And on that, we're going to say a fact. Chris Carson is a stud running back. He helps open up the passing game. In the running game, they like power running. They like to, pound the ball, wear out the other team. That's why they had success in the past. And that's, you can't just find any running back off the street and just make that work. So Chris Carson makes his team a lot better. He does. And I think that's Seahawks Galaxy's point here. So going to be interesting to see how much better they get with him. We'll see if he's back this Thursday night against the Cardinals. Cannot wait for that game. Jack Smith, the Jets definitely won the Jamal Adams trade. Interesting one to think about, because Jamal Adams has been hurt and he hasn't been playing good. I think outside of week 1, he hasn't been playing good. I guess he's been good getting after the quarterback, but that's a small part too. I mean, I guess for his game, it's a big part of it, but it's a small part to judging, I guess, Jamal Adams, the safety Jamal Adams, it's definitely, we can't grade this or determine a winner yet. It's still definitely to be determined for sure. Not even close to be determined yet. But yeah, I don't know. It's a tough one to call it an overreaction because it's too early. I mean, you can answer this so many ways. I almost might not answer it because call it an overreaction because it's way too early to say this. But it's also fair to think this. It's also fair to think this because the Jets needed those picks. You see a guy like Marcus May and Ashton Davis. Those guys are stepping up, moving around, back in the back end of safety position in the box. They're looking pretty good. They added picks on top of that, on those guys playing well for the future. And, the Seahawks traded a lot for a guy that, might not be as much, and I'll say he definitely might not be as much of an impact as an edge rusher, on the defense. So, you can answer this multiple ways. You can say it's an overreaction for thinking this at this time, but it's also very fair to think this. If you think this in your mind, I'm not going to say you're wrong. You're dead wrong. So it's one you can answer multiple ways there. Diego Lopez, if the Raiders beat the Chiefs at home, they have a shot at the division. Pretty interesting one to think about. I do like ones based on this past week. Well, I guess the Raiders continuing to win. But it's an interesting one to think about here because we don't really think about it. That's pretty much why. So I'm going to say, including myself, I'm going to say overlooked because, I'm still predicting the Chiefs to win a division. I'm very high in the Chiefs like pretty much everybody. I think Raiders fans are even high in the Chiefs. Well, they beat them once already, but I still think they know how good of a team they are. So I'm still predicting the Chiefs, but the Raiders can beat the Chiefs this week. People forget they can because they already did it. They had a good game plan on them. Doesn't mean they're going to beat them again because they already beat them. That's not how it works, but they have a shot. And if they do beat them, they have a shot at the division because that's a huge win. It's a loss for the Chiefs who's in their division, and Raiders got a pretty good, favorable schedule the rest of the way. The Colts are the only other team. I have to look back at it, but the Colts are really the only ones standing in their way, which it's a very winnable game for both those teams, the Raiders here in this case. So they actually do, and people really, including myself, don't really think that because it really has nothing to do with the Raiders. It's more of the Chiefs are that good, but Raiders got a shot here. Raiders actually have a shot. Maybe it's not likely. Maybe we can't call it likely, but they definitely have a shot, so watch out for those Raiders. I do expect them in the playoffs unless they kind of blow it here going forward. Even if they lose to the Chiefs, I expect them in the playoffs. Looking at that schedule, look at the teams doing right now. Next, Dominic Geck, Howie Roseman, and Doug Peterson need to be fired. We've been talking about this during the year. This is another one, and I'm not predicting when I'm throwing things up here. I think it's fair to think this. That's not me saying they need to be. If I said an overreaction, that doesn't mean I think they shouldn't be. But at this point, Peterson's play calling has not been good. Either they could have used the running. They're getting predictable. Whether they could use running backs, either one, whatever one you want, whoever's in the game, a little more in that game. Too much insisting on Wentz, and I keep, even myself, I keep thinking he's going to break out. I'm not thinking he's going to be elite anywhere near that or anything, but yeah, I don't like the play calling, game plan. Don't like it. You're on a bye week. You have time to game plan for something you saw already this year. You can't lose that game. You cannot lose that game. And Howie Roseman built a pretty good team, and Doug Peterson as well. They built a pretty good team to win a Super Bowl, a very complete, balanced team with extremely good depth when they had injuries, obviously, to win a Super Bowl. So definitely need to applaud them for that. We've already done that, But after the fact, Roseman was in the business of paying guys for winning them a Super Bowl, paying them too much. Paying injured guys too much with injury concern, and he's put them in cap space hell going forward here. They're going to clear some space, I'm sure, but not as enough, not as much as they need to. And they continue to pay guys, I think overpay guys, lengthy, contract wise. Kind of reward here. You want a Super Bowl? Here's your money that you deserve. People always think like that, but I never think like that. It's a business. Remember, it's a business. And I think Roseman kind of went against that. So I've not been a fan of what he's done. I've not been a fan this year what Peterson's done. I've been a fan of them in the past, though. It's tough to fire guys that won a Super Bowl not that long ago at the same time. I think it's fair to think that. You can definitely debate on it whether they should or not, but I do think it's fair to make this statement. You're not necessarily wrong if you say this. You're not necessarily right, maybe, but you're not necessarily wrong at the same time, if that makes any sense at all. Broncos 2020 # injuries suck. They do suck. Drew Lock is busted, and there is no hope for his career as a starter in Denver because he repeats the same mistakes over and over again. It's a little harsh. That's tough. Do I want to say fair or fact here? There's no hope for his career as a starter in Denver. I like that he put that. It might be a fact. If you put no hope as a starter in the league, I wouldn't have said anywhere near fact probably because he could work out somewhere else. But he's pretty bad right now. He looks pretty bad. They drafted him in the second round, so I don't think there's going to be too much of attachment there from the actual Broncos themselves, the organization. There's definitely not going to be attachment, I don't think. So it's not going to be hard for them to move on. I think they've seen enough to know. And there's some talent in there. We've seen it. We've seen glimpses of it, flashes of it. But it's bad right now. It's bad. So it's a pretty harsh way to put it, I suppose. But it's looking like fact, and they're going to be searching for the next quarterback. They're not going to be a team that, I don't think, at least, it's my opinion, but I don't think they're going to be like, we got to give him another shot. We know how teams do that all the time at quarterback. I don't think that's going to be the case. So I think this is fact because the way he's playing, but because I think it'll be easy for the Broncos to move on there. Next up, Tyler Andreas. Arizona's a top 3 team in the NFC. Interesting. Very interesting. It's tough. Another one where I don't think it's over. It probably was overlooked if we said this weeks ago. I'm going to say it's fair to think this because NFC is kind of open. I think if somebody said Saints, Packers, Seahawks, just coming up with 3 teams here, they could be right. If somebody said Cardinals, Bucks, Saints, they could be right. I think you could say this. The Cardinals are a dangerous team. It's a team that nobody really matches up well against. You look at the playoff teams. they probably match up well against more teams than other teams do. Does that mean they're going to win a Super Bowl or go the distance? No. But nobody wants to face them. But sometimes sometimes I worry about them. They tried to blow that game. The Bills end up choking the game away, but the Cardinals choked the game away first. A couple times they had a shot to put the game away. They couldn't do it. Play calling scares me sometimes. Kingsbury kind of outsmarts himself. Murray does have some mistakes in him. Not every single game, but big moments. The potential to make some mistakes. That the throw to Larry Fitzgerald was on Kyler Murray, ended up being picked. Mainly Kingsbury. And I keep thinking he learned his lesson. You look at the end of the Dolphins game, kind of outsmarted himself. The two drives they had a shot to move the ball further, get points, not punt the ball. But they kind of went with running the ball. And running the ball works in the system here and there, of course. Running backs played well this last game. But just going away from what's working with Kyler Murray, it's outsmarting yourself, just thinking too much. And he still hasn't really learned. And he's not a bad coach. He's putting them teams. It's a great system. So no way a bad coach, but it does hurt them sometimes at the end. And I kind of worry about that. But game after game after game, what the playoffs is going against the best. All it takes is one mess up, one play maybe. So it's tough to call them a top 3 team when it's all said and done, but they definitely can be. I think it's fair to think this. It's an intriguing team, that's for sure. Simmons season, Dolphins are a top 5 team. They look good right now, and they're streaking. They're getting better because the young talent's getting better. The defense is one of the best, maybe the best in football. Very scary. They make plays everywhere, special teams everywhere. It's a football team. It's the best way to explain them. It's more of a football team than the Washington football team. That goes without saying. I think it's tough because you look at the balance, to the lack of balance across the NFL, where teams play complete games across the board, both sides of the ball, special teams as well. I want to say they're a top 5 team because of that. And you see the Rams, they're a very balanced team. The Dolphins handle the Rams pretty well. I'm not saying they can't be, but I'm gonna say it's still a little bit of an overreaction to say they're a top 5 team in the NFL. It's interesting to think that, though. It's possible, I just think they're too young. When they play better teams, our mistakes going to come up more. It's tough. A lot of assuming, I guess, there, but it's a really good team. I love how balanced they are. Top 5, that's next level, though, and they're something right now, though. They're something, and a team that I may expect in the playoffs. How they're playing and looking at the rest of their schedule. So we'll see if they can continue to climb here. No hiccups in the road, maybe no bumps in the road. Just being young. Sometimes that happens. Let's see if they can hang on here. Colbjorn Bergstrom, the Rams may very well be the best team in the NFC if their offense can improve moving forward. Interesting one as well, because they are one of the more balanced teams in the NFL. Both sides of the ball look pretty good. It's pretty much just on the offense taking care of the ball. I don't know if the offense really needs to, I guess in that area. I don't know if the offense in general needs to improve. It's just Goff needs to take care of the ball, and McVay needs he rightfully doesn't have a whole bunch of trust in Goff, McVay that is. It's not like glaring like he has no trust or anything, but at the end of the Seahawks game, they probably could have scored more points, but they were like, all right, let's run the ball, run the clock, let's play this safe. We turn the ball over, they're going to have a way better shot than if we run the ball, run the clock, even though it's an obvious play call. So it's a very balanced team. It's a sneaky team that teams don't match up well against the playoffs. If the offense we'll adjust this a little bit, but it's the same thing what he means. If the offense can take care of the ball better and they develop more trust, I know Whitworth's going to miss some time now, though, so that affects it too. They very well, I think, I can't say fact. I almost did, but I'm going to say fair. I can't say fact. If they take care of the ball, this team's good. This team's really good. The NFC's pretty wide open. At any given time, they can be better than the Saints. They can be better than the Bucs. They play the Bucs on Monday night. Packers, teams like that. I'm not saying those teams can't be better, but at any given time, the Rams can be because they're balanced, the way they play defense. I mean, the offense is still really good. It's hard to stop. It's an annoying offense to go against. Very good mind in Sean McVay. Watch out for those Rams. They got to stay consistent, though. It's like back and forth. The Rams are really good. Now they suck. It's kind of back and forth with them. Big game Monday night against the Buccaneers next week. Tony Benz, the Ravens offense is dead. They have no hope for postseason aspirations. Am I saying that word right? I got to get it down. It's rough right now. It's rough. I keep going. I'm talking about that game last night. Yeah, they weren't their full selves because of the downpour, but the other team was in the downpour as well. And they just and that's the kind of weather that's going to be in the playoffs. I mean, you can't expect that every single week, but I don't know what to do with these Ravens. I don't know. I think this is an overreaction. So it's definitely an overreaction because there's hope. There's hope. It's not dead, but I'm losing some hope. I'm starting to lose some hope a little bit. But they have some. This is a weird one because there's no hope here. I don't even know what I'm saying at the moment. There's still hope. There's still hope, but we're losing confidence in the Ravens here. The problem is there's so many problems right now because the team defenses are figuring. It's almost like I could talk all day about this. It's almost a good and a bad problem that teams are. Lamar said their defenses are calling plays to the line. They're recognizing plays. That's a terrible thing. It's a terrible thing. But now they know this. They can potentially fix this. Is it easy to do without an offseason? That's kind of the question. But if they turn play calls around, stop being unpredictable, and then maybe you could change plays up, add to the playbook. I guess that's easier said than done. But if they can do that, you're really going to throw defenses off. You really are. So it could end up being a blessing in disguise that you've understood this, or that that you understood this early. But Lamar just needs more help as well. The receivers are not playing well. There's still hope though. To answer that, I can go on all day about that. There's definitely still hope for the Ravens, but it's starting to go south. Big game against Titans this week. Big game for both teams. We're starting to go. The confidence level starting to go down a little bit on both those teams there. Then we go on to Ezekiel Gonzalez and Saldi. The Saints season is over now. That Breeze will miss a few weeks. This is definitely an overreaction. Breeze is out. It's a tough blow. This is definitely a better team. Definitely a better team right now with Breeze than Winston, obviously. And we'll go on a little bit more about that, actually. But so they take a hit. My point is they take a hit. Let me get this off my face. They'll take a hit, but the season's definitely not over. You know, they're in the driver's seat for sure of that division. Schedules now, they play the Chiefs. I guess Panthers and Falcons. Those aren't easy at all. But they got a lot of winnable games there. You know, their defense is improving. They're well coached for the most part. They are well coached. It's just some people haven't been happy with their play calls at times. I guess getting obvious with Taysom Hill, but they're very well coached, very well prepared. They're gonna be just fine. But to go in the Saints more, we had a couple here that I'm putting up from Noah. Jameis Winston wins the Super Bowl. More of a prediction long term, but and then Telly here. Drew Brees' injury will finally allow Jameis to take R as in Saints offense to the next level and make Sean Payton revive Jameis's career. This is interesting stuff. This is interesting stuff, and I might have an overreaction that people are going to overreact to, or maybe it's not an overreaction. Overreaction within an overreaction video, within an overreaction. I don't know what I'm talking about anymore. All right, I mentioned this. Let's get this out of the way. Drew Brees is better than Jameis Winston. We're getting that out of the way. Drew Brees is better than Jameis Winston. Understand it. Saints are better with Drew Brees right now, regular season, no question. No question. If they were in a Super Bowl, in the actual Super Bowl, Drew Brees Saints, much better. No question. But have to think about what's happened in the Saints in the past. And then even this year, even when they won some games close, when they lost early in the year, what's kind of been the problem? Just no really explosive plays downfield. They've kind of added a little more of that, but we all know the Saints' identity. We all know their offense. It's been the same forever, and that kind of makes it that much more impressive that they're able to consistently be. Is there anybody more? I'm getting off topic, but you get my point. But in the playoffs, teams kind of figure that out. We're not going to they game plan specifically. They don't have to worry about hiding things, and that's why the Saints come up short in the playoffs. People know that make them beat us on the downfield plays, and Jameis Winston has a little more downfield ability to him, maybe a lot more, but he also has a lot more turnover probability, than Drew Brees. So if they get in the playoffs and it's Jameis Winston in the playoffs, they might be a little more dangerous team because people don't know what to expect from them. They actually have more big playability. You have to change your defensive game plan. So again, people are going to take that the wrong way. But I don't think he's better than Drew Brees. In the Saints Drew Brees team, it's weird because the Saints Drew Brees team is better. It's for sure. Drew Brees is better. They're better. But they have the factor of throwing other teams off while they still have a very good, pretty complete team. Here, with playoff games, the run that they have not been able to go on. So this is kind of what made me think of that. These replies here. I don't know. It's interesting to think about. Again, Drew Brees is better. They're better with Drew Brees. But can they throw teams off in the playoffs with Jameis Winston? And could that help them win even more? But if they got to a one winner takes all, one game, that's it, which is the Super Bowl. It's Drew Brees. It's not even close. Same applies for the regular season. They would end up winning the division, possibly with the 1 seed, 2 seed, whatever it is. So this hurts them a little more right now. But it might cause matchup problems. It might cause teams to overthink things, or I don't know. It's just some thinking I had. Something very interesting that it just gives the Saints a different look, and they're a good team either way. So it's interesting. I'm rambling on at this point, but it's definitely interesting. Drew Brees, it's a shame that he got hurt, but kind of like last year, you don't want people will take everything the wrong way. You don't want him to get hurt. Obviously, I shouldn't have to say that. But it's good to see Teddy Bridgewater. That's what we were thinking last year. Let's see Teddy Bridgewater in the Saints offense. And it was good for Teddy. He got paid because of that. He looked good. Let's see Jameis Winston. It's kind of good to see under bad circumstances, I guess, terrible circumstances. And we don't know yet how long Drew Brees will be out. It could be a couple weeks. It could be the rest of the regular season. I don't imagine any longer than that. But it's pretty brutal injury at his age. So who knows? So, but it's interesting to think about how the Saints could be with Jameis Winston, and I guess we're going to see. Here. So I guess that's something to look forward to under bad circumstances, I suppose. But I think that wraps it up. Yeah, that wraps it up. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Follow that Twitter to get more involved, and for more NFL talk, please smash that like button, subscribe, turn notifications on. You know the drill. That's going to do it for this one, though. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.